Yes.
I want to welcome everybody, January 17th, 2017. We're at 6:01. This time we need an approval agenda. Everybody had an opportunity to look at it. We've got one change. We've got guests from River North won't be with us tonight. That'd be the only change that we know at this time to be amended. Everybody's had an opportunity to look at it. I need a motion for approval.
So moved, Jim.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This time we've got Mr. Hal Creek doing an invocation and pledge.
Shall we pray? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this day and all your blessings. Thank you, God, for allowing us to gather here to carry out the business of the people of this county, Lord. We ask for wisdom, Lord, for those we have chosen to govern. We pray that they will always seek guidance and direction from you, as we all should. Go with us, Lord. Lead us, guide us, and direct us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Creek's an Army veteran on the Planning and Zoning Board. You'd like a few minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was asked to give a brief summary, so I'll try to make it
And
brief.
we very appreciate you coming very
Thank
much.
you, sir. I entered into the Army back in January of '63. I had to make notes because of my memory. By the time I got here from the house, I probably forgot everything. So anyway, in January of '63, I went in basic training in Fort Gordon, Georgia. And I took my advanced infantry training at Fort Polk, Louisiana. We were shipped from Fort Polk by train to Oakland Army Terminal in California, where we spent about 3 weeks before we boarded a troop carrier, where we started a 28-day trip by water to South Korea. We stopped in Japan, we stopped in Hawaii for a few days, and upon arriving in Korea, we were sent to our individual units. I was sent to Headquarters Company, 12th Cav, 1st Cavalry Division. The purpose or mission of our unit at that time, along with the 8th and 9th Cav, was to offer a first line of defense since we were located along the DMZ. Our time in Korea was pretty routine, other than having to deal with North Korean line crossers carrying out nighttime covert strikes into and across the DMZ, which they often did. I'm thankful that it was no worse than what it was. I was a 16-year-old kid. Yeah, right about my age. I was proud to wear that uniform. I'm still proud today that I did. I was 10,000 miles from home. And because of that, it caused me to have to grow up real quick. I spent a year and 2 months there and was very, very glad to get back home. But what I'd really like to comment on is those vets before my time and many more who came after me, those we see today wearing visible scars of the horrors of war, those with many different injuries, such as missing legs and arms and eyesight, and it just goes on and on. And those with scars we can't visibly see, but they're there all the same. And not forgetting the many that gave their lives for this country, for us. But if you ask them, they would say they were just doing their job. We owe them so much. We should never forget them. We should always respect them, support them, and honor them. And I'm not standing here putting myself in that same category as these vets that I just spoke of, because these vets are very special people. So I honor them, as we all should. Also honor the parents who had and raised such men and women. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Preacher.
Thank you very much. At this time, we have chairman announcements, board appointments. Number one on the list is appoint a vice chairman. This time I need a nomination for the board for a vice chairman nomination.
Did Jason do some research to determine if you could be a first-term commissioner?
I've talked with the county attorney, and maybe I'll let him speak to that.
Yes, I'll be glad to. Commissioner, there's no requirement that the vice chairman be anything but other than one of the commissioners. No requirement that there's been past experience as a commissioner. So the board can elect whomever it wants to out of the other four as vice chairman.
Okay, good.
With that being said, I nominate Mr. Sam Kitchens as vice chair.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. At this time, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. Mr. Kitchens, your vice chair at this time. Congratulations.
Just say thank you and go with it.
Thank you, sir. Hey, you didn't know you were getting that one, did you? No. All right. Now, at this time, we have a reappointment of Beth Baker to the Appeals and Adjustment Board for a term ending 3/15 of 2019. I need a motion for her reappointment.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Have we got a second? Second. We have a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, likewise. Unanimous. Number 3, we've got a reappointment, Ms. Earlene Hamilton to the Historic Preservation Board for a new term ending 8/31/2018. This time I need a motion from Ms. Earlene Hamilton.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We've got a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? We have number 4 is a reappointment, Jason McSwain to Historic Preservation Board for a new term ending 8/31/2017. At this time, we need a motion to reappoint Mr. McSwain.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Number 5, reappointment Clifford Bowen to the Historic Preservation Board for a new term ending 8/31/2019. Need a motion from Mr. Clifford Bowen.
So moved.
Got a motion, have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Appoint Mr. Larry Jackson to the Planning and Zoning Board to replace Bill Dewberry, whose term expired 12/31/2017. I need a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor, no discussion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No.
Sorry, Commissioner Robinson, second.
Did you want to say something?
I just want to know the second.
All right. We've got a consent agenda and approval of the minutes. Approve execution of the solid waste agreement between Jones County and Twiss County, replacing agreement approved November 15th, 2016. My understanding on this one, it was just a few
Insignificant changes.
insignificant changes. We actually didn't change anything, and we have first Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017. If y'all had an opportunity to look at that, we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We have no visitors at this time. New business, tax commissioner office protocol requirements. Jason, I think you have this one.
Mr. Chairman, what you have here is the tax commissioner asking for approval of several housekeeping issues that he brings back to this board at the beginning of each 4-year term. the requests here don't change anything from the way they operate right now, and they have going back some time. Basically, there are 5 items here that he's requesting approval for. One is a payment schedule. The second is authority to waive tax bills under $1. The third concerns the methods of payment that his office can accept. The fourth deals with correcting clerical billing errors. And then the fifth deals with authority to remove property from the digest that's no longer in the county. So if someone buys a boat or a car or something along those lines and moves out of the county, obviously the property is no longer taxable here. So those are the 5 issues that are covered in the 2 letters that you have in your packet. And I think he's just requesting approval of those items.
That said, do we have a motion to approve this?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 2, a new business. Neely J. Patel, beer and wine license application. M&J Food Mart, 3402 George Cliff Road, Macon, Georgia, 31211. This time I'd like to
Mr. Chairman, there were some inconsistencies with the information that we received from the sheriff's office as opposed to what this applicant had in her application, and also some problems with residency requirements. And I've talked to our clerk, and it's our recommendation at this time that this application be denied.
That said, I need a motion to deny the application. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Number 3, approval to go out for bid for the radio system. Mr. Tom Graham.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Board, I want to actually change that from what it's on the agenda as a RFQ, request for quote. I think we'd be better off. I've got a list of equipment that we need, and I think that we would be better off. You know, we could go out for bid, but I think we'd be better off. We've got a lot of equipment that could be salvageable. And we've got some equipment that's in mint condition. It may be old, it's in mint condition, but we've got towers that are already in place. We've already got 6 towers that are in place. So instead of going with the whole nuts and bolts, I've got a list of equipment that we need. And if we can go out and get a quote and then bring it back to the board. It's several pages from the qualifications to even all the way down to how much coax we need, how many repeaters we need. This is going to be a VHF system that is going to be digital. So it's an upgrade of what we have now, but it'll be in the digital phase. We won't need internet. We won't need anything to go with it. It runs itself. So I'm thinking this is going to be between $200,000 and $300,000. But if we go to every nuts and bolts, it would be $500,000 by the time we, go out for bid. So I've got a list here, and I've tweaked it and looked at it and talked with folks and talked with radio folks within our department, and I think that we would be best to just go out for a quote. And what I've submitted to you guys is a list of what we need, and I think that it is very easy to go by, all the way down to the warranties. I've included the City of Gray Fire Department. I think if we caught them off guard with a new radio system, they may not be able to respond. They may not be able to afford it right now in the middle of their budget. So I've added them in too. So it spells it out: 155 portable radios, so many mobile radios, so many repeaters, so many towers, whatever. But a lot of stuff we can use, and it lasts forever. So I think the best thing to do is put this out for request for quote and then come back to the board and see what we have.
Has anybody got a question for Mr. Graham?
Got a couple.
Excuse me, Commissioner, let me just say this, we need to make sure we're not violating any sort of bid requirements, and when you say a quote, Don, we just need to make sure that's not,
I think he's talking proposal, request.
Yeah, proposal,
Oh, okay.
right.
Okay, all right, okay.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I think that if we're asking for a whole new radio
Right,
system,
right.
we'll end up spending $500,000
I
that quick.
understand, right, but if you start pricing things, over a certain limit, then we get into the bid requirements.
Yes, sir.
My suggestion would be, if the board is so inclined to go along with it, let us just make sure that would not be violating any of our bid requirements.
Okay. All right, sir.
With that caveat, I mean, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
Commissioner Martin, excuse me.
On your last page, you had a couple bullets, and it's 1, 2, 3, fifth from the top. It said the contractor must have a service facility within 50 miles of Jones County. And my question is, how many contractors have service facilities within 50 miles? Because it seems we get pretty narrow.
We've probably got 4 or 5 in Macon.
Okay.
You've got Motorola, you've got Williams, you've got Harris, you've got Taft or whatever it is. I'm not sure. This is the problem. What if it goes down?
I understand that.
And we've got to call somebody from Florida and then we're in a world of
Right,
trouble.
but then the next thing you have in the almost last line was a 90-minute response time. I can come from Atlanta in 90 minutes.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just curious. If you got-
Atlanta's there too.
Okay.
90 minutes.
All right, so
I'm trying to get someone here as quick as they can. If the radios go down, that I just don't want to be interruption in communications.
I just want to have the best options for bids or responses to our RFP. And I was curious about the 50-mile limit, but a 90-mile response time, sort of a 90-minute response time.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I do too. If somebody out of Atlanta can really put a good price to what we need,
Right.
I don't have a problem with it. We're saving that money. But if they can be here within that, there was no way of me setting a real time limit.
Right.
I just really wanted somebody here quick, because I think sometimes that, I know the sheriff is, and it's hard for me to speak for him, he's not here, but
Right.
he's being serviced from somebody out of North Georgia, and it takes them hours to get here, or maybe the next day.
Right. Okay. I like at least 75 miles, maybe 90 miles.
I don't have no problem.
I want more competitive bids, that's all.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Commissioner Robinson, you had a question, Mr. Graham?
It was the same question.
Oh, same question.
I echo what Commissioner Martin said, that either go with a 50-mile radius is you're gonna get the same people in 50 as you get in 75. I would say reduce the 90-minute down to 60-minute. Because
Okay.
they can tell you they can make it from Atlanta in 90 minutes, but, if they get a traffic jam.
Yes, sir.
Then they may not
That's
be
if they leave when you call, which they probably.
Yeah, I think
Right.
we're pretty lucky that we've got actually some good vendors, I think, in Macon, but, it's if they can meet, the grind here. We've done without for so long, and this will be the last radio system that I'll ever have something to do with, and I want this to last a long time.
One of the recommendations is, you ever thought about setting up a committee to evaluate proposals when you get them back? Because if you get 4 proposals, they're basically going to tell you what they can do for you, and you know what you want, but I think that would include everybody if you have, and I know with you, you've got fire, EMA, emergency all rolled in one, but maybe one of your captains and Jason or something on a team to just put more than one set of eyes on it.
Actually, my house captains will be evaluating this, just like we did the gear. That's the way we operate.
Mr. Pitts, you got
No
a question?
questions.
So basically, we're gonna hold off on a motion for them to, I guess, research this further? Is that what we're asking for? Or are we gonna actually put this up for bid? What was
You were requesting, I think, the way I understood it, Mr. Kitchen mentioned that over there. Request for proposals.
Okay, so well,
Yeah, and you need a motion.
so I need a motion.
Right, I think it.
Maybe my wording was bad. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Chairman, I'd like
Sure.
to put Public Works and Water, because our radio just about over Dawn's is, so I think we'll get more radios in there, might get a better price, because everybody's doing digital, we're still analog, so I know John got something not working, I got something not working, so I'd like for us to be included in that process also. They can make a selection, but just put us in the pot too.
I don't mind that at all. The first thing that I did was when I came here almost 8 years ago, Public Works was on this tower back here, and they were having trouble with the radios. Well, I ended up putting, I think you guys too, both the Public Works and Water Department, and put them on our 411-foot tower, which made a big difference to them. I don't mind putting them in the pot as long as they've got the money.
So,
Well, Dad, I'd make a motion, we go out for our request for proposals for radios and, including Public Works and Water Authority for prices on them, and then we'll identify the funds from their accounts as far as they'll still use your repeaters and your
Right.
just buying their own radios.
They could actually piggyback for the price, like per unit or whatever. I think that's what could happen. I think that's legal, up to 1 year. So if it requires you to go into the next budget, you may be able to afford a few more radios or whatever.
Just out of curiosity, Don, does the city of Gray have similar issues with down radios?
They have the same radios that we have.
Okay.
They have the same issues. Is John Wood in the back? Is there big problems with the radio system?
It's same problem the counties have.
But I added them into this. I'm not gonna do anything without them. We're all even.
You're here.
that said, we've got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor by aye?
Aye.
Unanimous.
And I'm sorry for my verbiage on that. Thank you, Mr. Sam. I appreciate that. Can I be excused?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
headed to Atlanta.
Yeah. Have a safe trip. Number 4 on our list, minimum standard of housing. Commissioner Martin, this is
Mr. Chairman, talked about this probably a year or maybe 2 years ago. One of the things that we have a challenge with in our county is that we really don't have a minimum standard of housing. When you get over into the 4th district, you can really see that play out. There's no real accountability to owners, and there's no real accountability to residents. When you think of an historic overlay, you have standards that have to be met when you're doing some new development. We should have some minimum standard for housing as it relates to keeping it safe and uniformity. For those of us that own rental property in multiple counties, if you go over to Bibb County, there is a real standard. And if a resident has an issue with the fact that you allow water to leak through the roof, or you've got sanitation or some other issue, there is recourse in place for that. And likewise, if we have issues with property, see it, click it, ticket, and I'm not suggesting that we follow that same format, is an available option for us. What does that mean? It creates a standard by which housing can be evaluated. Hopefully it'll cut down on dilapidated and less than livable property, and gives us some teeth to go after owners who like to make the county a slum place to live, and really just protects our interests and the property owner's interests. So with that being said, I reached out to Sam and asked for him to share a copy of what Bibb County's doing. It's the International Property Maintenance Code, and he might be able to speak more intelligently about it than I can, but I at least wanted to bring that to our board and have us implement this process. Sam?
I think it's a pretty standard, excuse my verbiage, but it's a pretty standard across the board. I would agree wholeheartedly to keep uniformity across the county line, so that for the exact reason you're saying, but also to to have the mechanism to maintain the standards that we're looking for. What I'm not sure of is what we have now. Do we need to write a whole new standard, or do we need to tweak what we've got? And I think there was some conversation about bringing the policy that we have in place now to the work session, so that we can bring that up to the state standards that were adopted and make it bid.
To be honest, I don't know, and maybe Tim could share what standards we actually have in the county, and I don't know that we actually do.
About 10 years ago, we were concerned with this topic, and the commissioners at that time took a look at this document and elected to go with something scaled back that only applied to vacant structures. So many of the standards that are, well, the only standards that came out of this document are the specific criteria we use in determining whether a structure is unsafe. So if we receive a complaint, we go out and investigate, the structure's vacant, then we proceed forward. If it's occupied, then we don't do anything because it's specifically exempted from what we've adopted at this point.
So just out of curiosity, would you say that there are people who live in unsafe properties that if they were vacant, then the statute would apply?
Yes.
Thank you.
I guess my question would be, how are we going to enforce it? Are we going to make a primary homeowner make improvements to the home? Is it directly towards rental property? So that's just the question that I have about this whole standard.
Right. In most counties, and I can talk from a landlord perspective, and Sam might be able to talk about a policy perspective. The landlord, for example, if somebody sees something that's wrong with your property in Bibb County, they see it, they click it, and it goes into the business services development area. You get a letter in the mail that says, hey, you've got 10, 15, 30 days to fix this problem or you get a fine. So, for example, if we went down Virginia Lane or Tanner and you saw something that was inappropriate or out of place, click, and you send it in. I don't know if we'll go that far in our system. Right now, it still relies on the human aspect of somebody calling and making a formal complaint. When that happens, then we'd either send Tim or some enforcement agent out to take a look at it and then follow the procedure, or we get advanced and do a see it, click it ticket. It's not hard to copy the system because it's already in place in another county. Who is this after? It's after homeowners, because the tenant doesn't have a responsibility to repair a roof or to make a facility safe. And if there's ever been a fire in one of those unsafe units, our EMA folks are at risk, and that's a big concern, not to mention just the people who live there. We already know that some landlords have skirted the process, and when we did that urban redevelopment plan, there were hundreds of properties, especially in the 4th District, that fell into this criteria, and nothing has been done for years. So this gives us an opportunity to fix it, address it, and move forward and make our county great.
So I'm for minimum standard housing, but I'm just concerned about that homeowner that just doesn't have the resources to make those improvements at the home. I'm just saying, I'm looking at all sides. Or if you got the money, I want you to make the improvements. If you don't, then...
Great. Then we have the CHIP grant, right? So
yeah, we got a CHIP grant.
They've been identified. That gives them an opportunity to apply and hopefully get on the plan where they can get some resources to make a difference. You know, to our slumlords, this is a wake-up call. Hey, you either got to get your property right or make a decision to tear it down. And at the end of the day, if they get it right, that improves the value for everybody that's connected in that neighborhood. And at the end of the day, from a tax perspective, our tax commissioners are happy, and so are the rest of our constituents here, because everybody's paying their fair share.
Yeah. So I'm all for when it comes to, like I said, rental landlords, you know, making sure their properties stay up to date and up to code. I'm just only concerned about that homeowner that just doesn't have the resources to make those improvements. And being that that CHIP grant is a grant, it's no guarantee we're going to get it every year, then we may not be able to get it. And I don't want to see the government going in telling somebody, we're taking you home, you're going to be fined, to the point whereas I don't have the money to pay to make improvements. Now I don't have money to pay for the fines. So I'm all in favor of doing the rental property and continue to study the primary residence component.
Commissioner Robertson, were you through?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that we all, I mean, I know everybody's got questions and concerns. I think we should each make a list of those concerns and pass them around to each other, and also to Tim and to Tiffany, and, you know, ask for their input too. I think we've all agreed that the last thing we probably want to do is make government bigger. But, and maybe we can, work with this, code and maybe it will work out. But we need to all, and I think one good thing would be getting those concerns out there ahead of time instead of waiting until the work session to bring it up. There can be research done ahead of time.
Michelle, I'd like to ask Sam a question. So in Macon, Sam, do they pretty much, you see a home, a primary home residence is in poor condition? Does the city, do they find them, or what do they do with primary residents?
Yeah, they go out and assess the situation initially, and then they give them ample time to correct the problem. Now, there's always a provision in it for a hardship. If you can prove that you're not financially able to fix that, then they work with you in that. But I will caution, I'm 100% behind this, and I think we need the standard, we need the ordinances, but I will caution you that I don't like underfunded mandates coming down from the federal government, and there will inherently be additional cost for enforcement, for inspections, and for that type of, because if we know they're out there and we're not addressing them, when we do address them, it takes some type of manpower, and we got to be willing to fund that manpower to handle the situation.
Yeah, I think it behooves us to really look at how we've been doing it and how we should be doing it. And I would caution us to say that the policy that's in place right now doesn't favor renters, and it doesn't favor the neighbor, because the neighbor has no recourse. So I'm living next to you and you have a dump. I don't have any recourse. Jones County does not address that because it's not a vacant structure. I'd encourage any of you to drive down behind listings and take a look. I guarantee you there are a few houses that people are living in that aren't safe. I'm pretty confident a fireman has ran into a house, and I went out with Station 1 into a house owned by an individual here, and we were doing that test thing, or mock fire, and there was a hole in the kitchen bigger than this space here that we had to go around. If we can go in that place, I'm sure children can go in those spaces. And when we talk about drugs and all that other stuff, if we remove those entities from our community, it's less likely for those things to happen, for people to get hurt, for drug infestation to happen, and for property values to be devalued because my next door neighbor has something negative going on. Right now, we don't have a mechanism for that. Mm-hmm. Is it funded? No, but we currently have what we have, and we work with what we have until something changes. Is it worth it? Do I want to just go out and find people? No, that's not the goal, but we want to make the county right. That's why we have historic preservation. That's why we have overlays, and that's why we should have zoning. But it's my opinion.
With that said, do we want to bring a motion to the table to adopt this, or we'll do?
I motion that we adopt it.
Do we have a second?
I second for a little more discussion. I would prefer that we postpone it until we get some more information so that we can come up with a good enforcement plan with the premise that we will adopt this. I've said before, I'm behind adopting the policy. I'm a little gun shy of adopting something that we don't have the staff to enforce right now. And I don't want to tell people we're going to do something and not be able to enforce it.
I agree, and that's why I think we need to get our concerns and questions out there to each other and to Tim and Tiffany, and so in a work session we can really.
Will Commissioner Martin be willing to amend his motion to
a work session?
Absolutely. I'll accept an amendment for that. I would ask Tim, because I don't know what the enforcement looks like, and probably Sam as well, what that looks like, what we might need to do it. And just out of curiosity, what are we currently doing on a vacant structure? Is that you, or is that a member of your office?
It would either, whoever gets it in my office, either myself or Mr. Jim will go out and do the inspection. Then at that point, we turn it over to Tiffany for either tearing the structure down or notifying the people that it needs to be corrected.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, can Tiffany do double duty, or does that require some extra skill set?
I don't know if she'd be comfortable with the skill set involved.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
I would also, if I can just mention one other
Sure,
thing.
absolutely.
When the state of Georgia puts this code in place as an optional code for us to adopt, they specifically delete the administration portion of this document. So if we adopt it right now, we don't have administration provisions. So what we would have to do is actually create how we want to administer this program, and that would be part of the adoption of this document.
Great. Awesome. So work session?
Yep. All right, work session. Y'all got a date, man, for the work session?
I think that's a little later on the agenda, I believe, isn't it?
He's gonna do it in the work session during the retreat
No, that's work session for this one, what we're talking about.
specifically.
Well, you want to use it at the retreat? That's, I'm
So you
flexible.
want to do it as a retreat? It doesn't matter to me.
If Tim's already going to be there, sure.
What is the date of the retreat?
To the beach. We're working on that tonight.
It's on a day when you're available.
We'll get back to you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next on the agenda, number 5, department heads, attendance at meetings. Commissioner Robinson, this was your agenda item.
Mr. Chairman, in the past, there have been department heads that were required to be at every meeting, and really for no apparent reason, because we have cell phones and email and great communication. And I think the board agrees that they don't have to be here unless the county administrator instructs them to be here. And that would be if something's on the agenda that pertains to their department. And also, the county administrator is providing us with updates on projects already. He's still tweaking the reports, but I think he's doing a great job with keeping us informed. So I'm sure I'm gonna make the department heads mad at me, but I'd like to make a motion that they not be required to be here unless the administrator tells them to be.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, not to make department heads hang out for no apparent reason, but this project list right here is about 23 items deep. And just out of curiosity, if you would indulge me, would constituents like to hear a department head report weekly? Just raise your hand if you would.
I mean, not weekly, but monthly.
Oh, I mean,
bi-monthly.
right, bi-monthly. So that means no, because they didn't respond. Fair enough.
Thank you, citizens.
Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Amen. There goes your transparency. Y'all asked for it.
Number 6 is a request for a rehearing by Ricardo Belcher and Marlena Belcher, conditional use rezoning for 387 Pulaski Street. Mr. Petrowski.
Mr. Chairman, you all have been provided with a letter and a staff report from myself. The Belchers have submitted a request for a rehearing pursuant to the requirements of the CLDO. So at this time, it's incumbent on you all to take that letter that you've been provided and determine if the conditions in there warrant granting a rehearing. If a rehearing is granted, it starts the process over. Right now, the Belchers have to wait 6 months before they can reapply for the conditional use. This would allow them to go ahead and reapply tomorrow, and then it would come back to y'all in approximately 60 days.
Okay.
They would have to repay the fine, notices would go out again, posting of the property, and the hearing before the planning commission again.
The board's got the packet on this rehearing. Have I got a motion on the table?
Mr. Chairman, I saw nothing new in the letter, and I'd like to make a motion that we deny the rehearing, because there's nothing new.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
A second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not exactly sure what is qualified as new versus not new, other than this board is new. The information that was presented and the detail that was given is part of, I would say, my concern. I think it was pitched that it was, and I can't remember exactly, was it for only 6 children, school-age girls, or was it just group home generically?
6 school-age children. I believe it was 12 to 18, if I remember correctly. And that was for the provision for the one building that they were looking at putting children in at this time.
Okay. And out of curiosity, from a state perspective, no, from a county perspective, is that required? Because I know some counties, if they're a nonprofit organization, they are exempt from that requirement. Is that true to your knowledge as well?
Don't know anything about that, sir.
Okay. The reason why I ask is I spoke with Baldwin County and Houston County in a meeting, and if a nonprofit group home organization is applying, then they're exempt from the local ordinance.
They may be confusing that with the state-run facilities.
Okay.
There are actually facilities that are owned by the state of Georgia, and we can't tell them what to do. If they want to locate one of those in Jones County, they can do it without talking to us.
Okay.
The way our zoning regulations address it, though, if it's a private facility, they have to go through the zoning approval process to get a permit for up to 6 children in our residential district.
We're up to 6. Okay. Fair enough.
Any more discussion? There's no more discussion? All in favor of this motion? Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
What did I do?
Nothing.
Okay.
The board of directors for the company that's wanting to put the group home there's a treasurer with the name June Martin, and I was just going to ask Commissioner Martin if that was any relation.
Who?
The treasurer of the nonprofit.
No, the only Martins in Jones County that are related to me are my wife and my kids, and my uncle just moved here from Connecticut.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wow. Okay.
His last name, it just.
I understand. Mr. Chairman, I was just curious, and I know there was a vote taken. They listed some provisions here, and I wasn't sure if the attorney reviewed this to see if that was new versus not new.
That would not be a decision for me, Commissioner, as to whether it's new or not new. I mean, it said or not readily available. I don't, well, that's a question of fact. It's not a question of law. And if we were in a trial, a judge would say to a jury that the jury is the trier of fact and the court decides the law.
Okay.
And that doesn't call for a legal opinion.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, number 7, Asmat Ali Beer Wine License, Baba Food Mart Incorporated, 2676 Gray Highway, Macon, Georgia, 31211.
As far as the clerk, I know there's no problem with that application. Mr. Chairman, we recommend approval.
We have recommended approval. We got a motion on the floor to approve this beer and wine license.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
We got one no.
Oh, I'm
Yeah, well,
sorry, we got a no.
We got one no. Got it. Number 8, purchasing policies. Mr. Resner, I think this was,
There had been some discussion, I think, with different commissioners about the current purchasing policy and limits and approvals and that type of thing. I think it was just on the agenda tonight for a discussion item to get feedback from the board, and we could potentially take that feedback and incorporate it into an ordinance that we bring back to you for consideration.
okay. And we can have that, I guess we'll use that as a on the retreat session.
And we could, absolutely.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Resner on that? Moving on, old business. Discussion of commissioners' work session and retreat. Again, Mr. Resner, this is yours.
At the last meeting, I believe, Margie and I were asked to do some research on dates and locations for a board retreat, and we've identified a couple of weekends, a couple of Friday and Saturdays at the beginning of March, and 3 potential locations that we wanted to bring to you tonight. The 3 potential locations were down at Lake Blackshear, there's a state-owned park and lodge there. There might be a potential location. Another that we looked at was the Charlie Elliott Wildlife Center that's out of Madison and Monticello. They have a lodge and some meeting facilities there. And then the third was the James Madison Inn, which is in downtown Madison, in a part of town there that was redeveloped. They've kind of extended their downtown, and that's located there. So those were the three facilities that we've identified. Certainly be open to other suggestions if the board has some. And maybe Margie can speak to the dates. I believe it was March 3rd and 4th, and then maybe one other, but I'll let her speak to that if she.
The two dates that we are asking for your input on would be March the 3rd and 4th, which is Friday and Saturday, and then March the 10th and the 11th, which is Friday and Saturday.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask if we can do it on the 10th and the 11th.
Any other?
I'll do what the board wants to do, but wouldn't it save a lot of money to have it here?
I have no problem with it. Any discussion on that?
Where would we hold it here?
Right here.
Do we have a screen here, presentation?
Yeah. On the wall.
It would save money.
That's true.
It's just, department heads are here to, for that day. And I mean, I hate to say it, but the whole idea of the retreat was to get them away from here. But I mean, that would sure save the county money if we did it here. I see no problem. It's y'all's discussion.
It's fine with me.
Any problem with that?
And we did our first one here, I think when we first got elected, so all the department heads came in. We did it one day, we didn't do it on a Saturday. We've done it before, we can do it again.
I'm fine with that. I'm good. We need that on the motion, or just everybody agree to do it that day? Then, okay, well, we need a motion this time to hold a retreat here, and I think you're,
It's 10th and 11th, yes, sir.
we'll have a second.
I make a motion that we hold our retreat here in March 10th and 11th.
Do I have a-
Second.
Any discussion?
I was just gonna say, I think we make it, a requirement that the, department heads turn their cell phones off so they don't get called back to the office, which is one of the reasons for going out of town, and I know, been there and done that.
And board and chairman. That's everybody. Dale, on it, you.
I'm trying to find the track schedule.
I saw you over there scrolling mighty hard.
I can't find it, but tentatively I'm gonna say yes. I think
Okay.
we're good.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Department head, we got another time. Mr. Graham's gone. Mr. Lowe? No comments?
Nice chance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna get up.
Come on up, Mr. Wiggins. You were next. I was gonna call anyhow.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I got a couple of things I want to bring up. As well as y'all know, Aaron Gay, my right-hand man, is leaving Friday's last day. The reason he is departing is because of the money. Back in 2014, it was in the policy, the department submit certification to the board that they had to have it to perform their job duties. Well, a couple of departments did that, and I think my department and one of the department was told that we could wait on the budget. This was done back in May the 6th, 2014. Here's my note. I saved all my agendas. That it was, the board voted to stop the 10% increase during the department head comments. They wanted to wait till the budget. Well, I guess the budget needed to come around that year because we were told that we couldn't get a 10% raise for our certification. A couple of departments did get that raise. Well, when it came to the board, when it came to our light, they would just stop. So I just want to let y'all know why one of my good employees who's got certification in water, got certification in septic tank repair installation is leaving. Just food for thought. Second thing I got is update on Sun Valley. I think Attorney Childs has started condemnation on 2 properties, not yet.
Have not started them yet, still working on that, and talking with the young man at RDC.
Okay. The reason I brought it to your attention because the GFA boards go award loan next Monday, the 23rd. Soon as they award, the board have 6 months to put it out for bids. So they don't leave us much time. So I want the board to be aware. We got 2 properties, Mr. Grant and Miss Sheila. I have left a message with them, emailed. I had not received any word back from them. So I want to let y'all know the update on the Sun Valley. Also, we opened up bids last week for the materials and for the labor for Gray Highway project and for Haddock project. Tim and I and Jason are looking over the bid tabulations. It looks like right now for the materials on Haddock, I told Commissioner Pitts a while ago that looks like the low bidder did not bid everything that was in the specs. So we go further investigate it, so we might have to just throw all them bids out and rebid it again. Which Commissioner Pitts had a concern would it delay the project? No, because we will have all this done before the next commission meeting. Bids and come back recommendation to award it to the company who's low bidder. And the other thing is EMA Director Don Graham saw me this morning in the office up here, and I really don't like Facebook. Facebook to me is devil's workshop, if I may say that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling from the heart. It was a comment this morning. I'm not going to say word for word, but had a comment, got a picture of like a little flower bed or a little frame around a hydrant over there on Parker Drive in Jones Crossing. Well, the Jones County Water Department and Jones County Fire Department does not put a board or box around fire hydrants. But they wanted to talk about the fire department and water department. So I want to let y'all know the negativity is out there in Jones County, and it's alive, very much alive. So the box has been removed, the dirt around the hydrant has been moved, and it's painted fluorescent. So can't miss it, but I want to let y'all know what's going on. I appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you for
Chairman, I'm gonna comment, Freddie. Freddie, there's negativity everywhere, my friend. That's why we try to change it.
Thank you.
Is this something we can ask Jason to put on for the work session to retreat to, is the parity and pay scales and pay grades? If there is, if some people got a percentage of raise and others didn't, and were promised something and didn't get it, that's not right.
I agree. If we made somebody a promise, we need to hold up the end of the promise and follow through, because they're willing to take the training and do whatever. I think they need to be compensated for it. I agree 100%. We'll get Jason to add that to a work session.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate that.
Mr. Jackson, we're good. Is there any department heads I missed back here? Chris, you got anything? At that time, we have nobody signed in. Commissioners' comments. I'm gonna start on my left. Mr. Pitts.
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Another great meeting. Love the participation. Hopefully people just continue to come, find out what we're doing for the county, and please continue to share your ideas and input with us so that we can work to make Jones County a better place for everybody.
Not last this week.
Not last this week.
Kitchen.
I echo that, but I would, Mr. Creek, I just want to say to Mr. Creek and all the other veterans, thank you for your service to this country, because without people like you to honor and protect our God-given rights, we wouldn't be where we are today. We would be sitting in this room today. So we can never pay the debt of gratitude that's owed to you guys for what you've done and what you continue to do. So thank you.
Commissioner Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that I believe everybody can see from the last 2 meetings that we're definitely moving forward. And as Freddie said, the negativity is out there, but it doesn't have to be that much and it doesn't have to be made public. But I'm proud of the way the board is moving and look forward to the meetings to come. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Martin?
Just wanted to share, I'm excited about the retreat again. I know there's an opportunity for us to make the county great. I would be curious to find out if we have a mechanism for capturing citizen input in terms of what they want to see us accomplish. We have these great agendas and great ideas, but what is it that the citizens really want? Other than the fact that we know we all want lower taxes, I get that, right? And less spending, I understand that. Sometimes in what we do, we have to spend some money. It is what it is. But I would love a mechanism to capture that. Because I think for years they may have we have heard them, but no action had been taken on certain items. And there's something near and dear to our community that we need to take a look at. We also need to look at the committee assignments. I know we just elected a new vice chair. Congratulations. Looking forward to that. But also how we do committees and the assignment of those items. I'd like us to consider that as well. Compensation, it was interesting because that's in the minutes. We talked about that, and I'm excited that we're actually going to fix that because some departments have gone almost an entire year without that, and they have earned the right, to request it. And last but not least, city, county, hopefully we can get some more projects on the table that bridge us together. And I know we talked about doing the bypass, and then at some point service delivery comes into place. But it's a new opportunity to have a different discussion about the way we do business for the benefit of both entities and to save our taxpayers' dollars, because there's some synergy in services that we do that if we do them together, we can save some dollars. So excited. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, citizens' comments, 1 minute, not side in. They'd like to speak. How you doing? Yes, ma'am, for the record, just your name and address for the record.
Judy Hill, Highway 18 East, Great Jones County, Georgia. Mr. Chairman,
ma'am,
your comment on holding promises right on target.
Thank you, ma'am.
The purpose of my request, and I know I'm probably going to go over a minute, so I've got handouts that y'all can put on the next agenda for the answers.
Sure.
But just reviewing some of the minutes online, and I encourage all taxpayers to do so because it is a public record. My question and comments are in reference to some of the road projects that were approved in 2013. The list is dated May 5 and was discussed at a work session on May 10 of this year. All of these projects are outstanding as of January 2017. This includes all the districts and represents approximately 21 miles of paving. I would like to ask a question. What does the acronym LMGI stand for? And how are these funds allocated, and what is the approval process for using these funds? If there are two lists, publish the two lists. There's one for paved roads that needs improvement.
You've got about 10 seconds.
That's fine. I've got a list.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll relinquish the remaining of my time and request the answers be done by the commissioners at our next meeting.
Sure. If you, Madison, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just an FYI, Mr. Chairman, if there's a dialogue, that changes the minute. So just FYI.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak for 1 minute?
Mr. Chairman, if I could say one thing, please, if there are no more comments right now. I had to miss the last meeting because of a pretty serious injury my wife suffered on the day of the meeting, and I just wanted to express my appreciation to the board for reappointing me as county attorney, and I will do my best to justify that confidence you expressed in me, and I look forward to working with this board. I also appreciate, and my wife asked me to express her appreciation for the calls and cards and phone calls inquiring about her. She's doing about as well as can be expected, and just wanted to let you know I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. If there's no other citizens at this time, I need a motion to adjourn for executive session.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second? Second. All in favor?
That's all that's out there. All right, 6 minutes to 8, the motion open for open meeting. So move, Chairman. Second. All in favor? We have nothing further to say. I need a.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one comment. Yes, I do. I was reading over our project update, and I saw with the CHIP grant that we sent out 12 applications, and we've received 3 applications. And I was going to ask with Mr. Child's approval, can we reach out to those 9 other applicants to find out where they are and if they need help with the application, try to help them out?
Yeah, is this something, I'm not that familiar with that process.
Okay, it's just there's a CHIP grant, there's a housing.
He's not familiar with.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll reach out to Sherry to see what the additional pieces are.
Okay.
She was happy that she got the 12 in early, and you've been through this process before. It looks good, and then when they drill down.
Yeah, it's a lot of air property was a big problem.
And that was one of the big issues. So we're going to add some more folks because it went out in the water department.
Right, I saw that.
Notice, and we got instant response. She had like 50 calls almost immediately. So we may have to do another round of that, but we'll go back and identify some more.
Good. It's just to bring the board up, going back. In the past, the board, they received a CHIP grant. They were not able to find funding, and well, they had the funding, but they didn't find enough projects to use the money on. And that's why I just want to make sure that if there are people out there that need improvements to their homes, we have the money. I want to make sure they get it. And if we can help them in any way, try to help them complete the applications because we have the money. We do not want to turn it back in, because we got it and we're awarded. And I guess it may look, well, listen, I don't want it to. It did in the past. Just don't want to go back and just make sure people get improvements to their homes. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else?
I got one comment. It goes back to something that Commissioner Martin said earlier about getting the input from the public on how we do business and what some of the issues may be with the county, with the board, whatever. I'd ask the board for permission to work with the county administrator to devise a survey that we could put online on our website, an anonymous survey that any resident can go on our website, click on a link, take the survey of determined questions, and then analyze those answers, and then we would know 300 people want to know roads, 200, how we're spending SPLOST money. It would give the public an opportunity to voice their opinion. We'd get some feedback from the public without having full-on public hearings, which a lot of people tend not to come to.
Another thing, Michelle, I would ask that would not only be on the website, that we have some handouts here at the meetings for those that don't have internet access. They can easily get a paper copy and turn it in to the Human Resource Director or Jason or even the county clerk. So
we could do a trial run and you send it to the commissioners and see what they think. Maybe they got a question they want to add to it or take away from it. But I think there's a lot of state surveys like that they use in other counties and states too to figure out what the residents need and want and looking for.
Anything else? This meeting's motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?